Is this fate? Chapter 2. Time had passed since junior high, and Chloe was now in her senior year of high school, in grade 5. Her once inseparable group of friends, Sophie, Chris, Ryan, and Susan, had all repeated a year, leaving them in the same class again. However, the bond they once shared had faded, replaced by polite interactions and the lingering echoes of their past closeness. On an otherwise uneventful day, their homeroom teacher introduced 2 new transfer students. The first, Tony, was an easygoing and charming young man who quickly won over the class with his friendly nature. But it was the second student, Leo, who drew the most attention. Dressed in a turtleneck, gloves, and a nose mask, he exuded an air of mystery. The teacher questioned his attire, but Leo responded calmly, explaining he had severe allergies and needed to protect himself. The skepticism lingered, but the matter was settled when the principal entered, confirming that Leo's case was special. The teacher begrudgingly apologized, and class resumed. Despite Tony's instant popularity, Leo remained distant, his cold demeanor making him an enigma. The intrigue only deepened when, after class, he left abruptly without engaging with anyone. Moments later, he returned with a bottle of water. Susan, emboldened by Ryan, approached him, accusing him of being arrogant. Leo, unfazed, simply stated he had left because he was hungry. His blunt honesty left Susan embarrassed as her own friends turned on her, realizing she had misjudged him. The school bell rang indicating that the school had come to an end. Meanwhile, Tony and Leo exchanged intense glances before Tony moved to the window, watching Chloe from afar. Leo, curious, asked why he didn't simply talk to her. Tony only smiled, offering no explanation before leaving. Leo lingered, his gaze shifting over the students below. His expression darkened as he pulled out his phone, made a call, and disappeared once more. That evening, as Chloe walked home, she was struck by the sound of a familiar voice. She turned expectantly, only to find a stranger with his younger brother. The disappointment gnawed at her, a reminder of the ghost that still haunted her memories, Mark. Nearby, she spotted Susan and Ryan in a car, their eyes meeting hers briefly before Susan averted her gaze. Further down the road, she saw Chris and Sophie walking together, silent yet visibly burdened by the same thoughts. Then, suddenly, Sophie broke down in tears, and Chris, overwhelmed, struggled to comfort her. Chloe left before her own emotions could betray her, but the flood of memories was relentless. Home was no sanctuary. The air was thick with unspoken grief and old wounds. Her parents, once indifferent to house chores, now expected her to maintain the household the way Mark once had. Their criticisms were endless, reminding her of the $10 million they had spent to save her life, of how Mark had been better at managing responsibilities. The weight of guilt pressed on her as she scrubbed the floors and cooked meals, echoes of her brother's suffering ringing in her ears. One evening, as she retrieved her laundry, she accidentally knocked over a pressing iron. The loud clatter sent a shiver down her spine, and instinctively, she flinched, bracing for a blow that never came. Her mother stood frozen, eyes wide, as if she, too, was seeing a ghost. The same iron, the one she had once used on Mark. Without a word, she broke down, weeping into her hands. Chloe watched in silence, her own heart a tangled mess of pain and confusion. At school, Tony and Chloe grew closer, though she kept him at arm's length, wary of his smooth-talking ways. When their class was assigned a group project, Chloe was paired with Chris, Susan, and Leo. Susan was visibly displeased, preferring Ryan's company, but the real trouble began during their first meeting. Chris and Susan constantly argued, their unresolved feelings about Mark boiling over. Leo, observing their dysfunction, silently took matters into his own hands and completed the project alone. When the teacher unexpectedly moved the deadline forward, Chloe called for an emergency meeting, only to find Leo missing. They gathered at their usual spot, stunned to see Leo already there, nearly finished with the project. He explained the remaining work before they left, but Chloe lingered, gratitude swelling within her. "Thank you," she said softly. Leo simply nodded. Then, after a pause, he asked, "Why were you crying the other day?" Chloe stiffened. "It's nothing." He didn't press, but his next words struck a nerve. "And why do you and your friends keep arguing about someone named Mark?" Anger flared within